Could a son truly hate his own mother and even want to humiliate her? It sounds unthinkable, doesn't it? The bond between a mother and son is meant to be sacred, unbreakable. Yet in some cases, it takes a dark and painful turn. Carl Jung, the renowned Swiss psychiatrist, offered a disturbing but enlightening explanation for this rare and troubling behavior, one rooted deep in the shadows of the human psyche. In this video, we'll unpack the psychological dynamics behind why a son might turn against the very woman who gave him life. We'll explore unconscious resentments, unresolved emotional dependencies, and the hidden forces that can twist love into hostility. This isn't just theory. It's a raw dive into the complexity of human relationships and perhaps a mirror into parts of ourselves we rarely dare to face. If you're someone who's fascinated by the deeper truths of psychology and the hidden layers behind human behavior, subscribe now and hit the bell icon, because we're about to go where most won't. Carl Jung's theory of the shadow offers a haunting lens through which we can understand one of the most painful psychological dynamics: a son humiliating his own mother. The shadow, in Jungian terms, is the hidden side of the psyche, the repressed, denied, and socially unacceptable traits that we refuse to see in ourselves. But here's the unsettling truth. What we bury within doesn't just vanish. It seeks expression, often in the most unexpected and destructive ways. Jung believed that when individuals don't confront their shadow, it doesn't disappear. Instead, it projects onto others, often the closest people in their lives. For some sons, especially those raised in emotionally intense or unbalanced relationships, this unconscious shadow can be projected directly onto the mother. She becomes the screen for everything he hates, fears, or cannot face within himself. But it doesn't end there. Sometimes, the mother herself carries unhealed psychological wounds, traumas, unmet desires, unspoken frustrations that she unintentionally projects onto her child. The son, in this case, grows up not only carrying his own emotional weight, but also acting out the unresolved conflicts of his mother. He becomes, unknowingly, the vessel for her denied emotions, and over time, may begin to rebel against that role. This is where reverse Oedipal dynamics come into play. Instead of the classic Freudian desire for closeness with the mother, the son develops a deep urge to psychologically sever the bond. But if this emotional separation is delayed, if the mother clings, or if the son remains enmeshed, a powerful inner tension builds. This tension can morph into anger, defiance, and eventually, humiliation. It's not that he consciously wants to hurt her. It's that he feels trapped, overpowered, and desperate to reclaim his autonomy. Add to this a layer of wounded masculinity, where the son feels emasculated or overpowered by a dominant maternal figure, and you get a volatile mix. He may lash out, not from strength, but from fear and helplessness, trying to break the grip of control he can't even name. The act of humiliation becomes, in his psyche, a distorted form of liberation. Jung forces us to look past the surface behavior and into the dark, murky waters of the psyche, where love, pain, identity, and shadow collide. And it's in that collision that this tragic pattern is born. Behind the disturbing image of a son humiliating his mother often lies a tangled web of early emotional experiences and psychological wounds that run deep. In many cases, the roots stretch back to childhood, a time when emotional needs were either drowned in overprotection or starved by neglect. Some mothers, often unconsciously, overwhelm their sons with love so intense it feels suffocating, while others, preoccupied or emotionally distant, leave a void the child cannot fill. In both extremes, the child learns distorted lessons about intimacy, control, and identity. Now add another layer, the absent or emotionally unavailable father. When the paternal figure is weak or missing, the mother becomes the entire emotional universe of the son. What begins as dependency slowly brews into unconscious resentment, because no child is meant to carry that much emotional weight. Over time, the son may start projecting his frustrations, failures, and self-doubt onto the closest and most emotionally charged figure in his life, his mother. This is the psychology of projection. He can't face his own perceived weaknesses, so he sees them in her and attacks them. She becomes, in his mind, the reason he feels trapped, small, or powerless, even if she never intended to cause harm. Psychologically, she becomes a symbol of control or guilt, and humiliating her becomes an unconscious attempt to destroy that inner symbol. But this doesn't happen overnight. The first signs often emerge in adolescence: a sarcastic tone, growing distance, passive aggression. If left unaddressed, these behaviors can harden into cruelty or outright humiliation in adulthood. That's why early awareness is everything. For mothers, dealing with a son who lashes out can feel heartbreaking, even terrifying, but reacting with guilt or defensiveness only deepens the wound. The first step is to set clear emotional boundaries. You are not responsible for your adult child's inner world. Engage in open, calm dialogue where possible, and resist the urge to personalize his anger. If the dynamic becomes too toxic, seeking professional support isn't weakness, it's wisdom. For sons, the path to healing begins with looking inward. Ask yourself, are you seeing your mother as she is, or as a distorted reflection of your own pain? Healing doesn't always mean reconciliation, but it does mean confronting the shadows you've projected. Maturity is reclaiming ownership of your inner world, including the parts that still hurt. When you stop waging war against the image of your mother, you begin the real work, reconciling with the boy inside you who felt unseen, overpowered, or abandoned. This isn't about blame, it's about breaking cycles. In the end, what may appear as a simple act of disrespect from a son toward his mother is, more often than not, a reflection of deep, unresolved psychological battles. Shadows formed in childhood, shaped by emotional absence, control, or wounds that were never truly seen. The mother-son relationship is rarely black and white. It's a bond rooted in years of silent expectations, unspoken pain, and emotional entanglement. And while humiliation is never justified, understanding its roots is the first step toward healing. Behind every mother who's been hurt lies a heart that gave endlessly, often without asking for anything in return. Maybe it's time we pause the judgment and start asking harder questions, not to excuse the pain, but to understand where it comes from. If you've ever lived through, witnessed, or been impacted by a toxic mother-son dynamic, share your story in the comments. Let's create a space for honest, respectful dialogue. And if this video resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and share it, because too many people are silently living these stories without ever truly understanding them.